Hello everybody, in this video I have some mixed media card making to share with you. As I often say when I do card making videos, it doesn't really matter if you're not into card making because the ideas and the techniques and everything can be applied to pretty much any craft at all. So just think of it as a surface that you're working on, and then I just happen to put them on card blanks and send them to people. So for this one I am using the AB Studio Unexpected papers. Often what I do is make 3 cards at once, but I was chopping up that paper with the lovely pink sort of distressed flowers on for my card blanks, and I realised, why don't I just make the whole thing into card blanks? Like, why do I have to do the 3? So that's what I did. So I have 2 5x7s, 2 roughly slimline cards. They're a bit smaller. They're about 3.5x7 or 7.5 or something like that. And then one that's about 5x5 or 5x5.5, something like that. Those aren't all exact sizes. So if you're trying to do the maths and trying to work them up to 12 inches, they're usually like a little bit under, a little bit over, but it gives you a rough idea. I put a layer of clear gesso on every single one of those, and while those were drying I did a bunch of fussy cutting from both the unexpected papers. Sorry, slight hay fever attack going on at the same time. My throat is so sore. I promise you it's hay fever, but struggling to speak. What was I saying? Yes, fussy cut things from both the unexpected papers and one of the Minte fussy cutting books. I think it was Flora book 2 or something. I did show it on screen for a split second, but yes. Next up, I'm going to do some really basic collage on each one of the cards with a mix of some vintage book paper and then also some of the Tim Holtz collagey tissue paper. I can't remember which one it is, maybe the botanical one, but the black and white one, not the one with colour. To collage those on, what I'm doing is putting collage medium at the bottom so it really sticks down, and then putting clear gesso on the top, because the clear gesso on the top means anything I'm going to put on top of those, more paints or stenciling or stamping, whatever, is really going to hold to them. Using a collage medium or a matte gel medium or a glue or anything like that over the top, they're more likely to resist any paints or anything that I put over the top, so that's why I put the clear gesso on the top. You can just use clear gesso, but I find using the collage medium underneath is just a little bit more reliable. Next up, I'm going to add some stamping. This is the first stamp I use is this Craft stamp, which I've had for years. I just adore it. It's got like butterflies and text on it, and it's so pretty. I've never been able to find it to link it for you. If I ever do, I will. But sometimes you can find Craft stamps, especially the older model ones, pop up on eBay sometimes. I'm using StazOn ink to stamp those on, and I honestly can't remember if I'm using jet black StazOn or if I'm using stone grey StazOn. I usually use one or the other, and I cannot remember what I used in this one, so sorry about that. Next up, adding some stenciling. That stencil is a Maramy Smaller stencil, kind of like a brickwork sort of stone wall effect stencil, and I'm using one of my favourite pastes, which is the Prima paper paste, to stencil those on. As you see, I'm kind of doing a factory line sort of situation. I do all the gesso on each of the cards, then I do the collaging, and then I do the stenciling, so I'm doing each bit on each card and moving them along the factory line. Next, to add some colour, one of my favourite ways of adding colour is spraying my surface with water and then using a brush to add a Distress Oxide spray and then let it move around the page. I don't know why I love using the sprays as paint. I simply do. I love the effect of them. I love the way they oxidise. They dry quite quickly. They're a little more predictable than other paints, but they also do fun things. I don't know. For the first couple of cards, I was using the Victorian Velvet, which is quite a strong pinky colour, so I thought I'd go a little bit more subtle on some of the other cards, and on these ones I'm using Milled Lavender, I think it is. I honestly don't know the last time I actually sprayed a Distress Oxide spray. I always use them with brushes, either for splatters or for doing techniques like this. I really like it. I don't know what it is, but yes. On the cards that had the Victorian Velvet on them, I wasn't 100% happy with the colour of those. I really like the Milled Lavender and the lovely subtle pinky purple colour, but on the Victorian Velvet cards, something wasn't fitting for me. So I'm adding a little bit here of, I'm fairly sure it's Tattered Rose. It looks really orangey on screen for some reason, but I'm pretty sure that's the one I used. I put those aside to dry, and here I'm going to make some more embellishments to go along with the fussy cut pieces that I had done earlier. So for this, I'm going to do some stamping and embossing on vellum. For embossing on vellum, heat embossing, I tend to use a higher GSM vellum. It just deals with the heat a bit better. It's either 110 or 120 GSM vellum. The stamps I'm using, this flower one here is an AB Studio one. The other set of flower stamps were a cheap set from the range. The embossing powder is I've completely blanked on the name of it. What is it called? Papermania, that's it. I don't think Papermania even exists anymore, but just a sort of off-white colour. I tend to use the embossing tool thing, you know, the static powder bag to get away any static on the vellum surface. And then when I am heating the embossing powder, I tend to have my heat gun running for a minute first so it gets really, really hot, and then also emboss from the top and underneath as well, because the vellum is really likely to warp. And if you have it, as I said, really, really hot and alternate on the top and the bottom, that it helps avoid that warpage, as it were. And also, for some reason, when you're embossing on the top, you may get little bits that just are refusing to melt for I don't know what reason. If you go underneath, then those little bits will melt. I don't know how that works. Science, whatever. Then I wait until those are completely dry, because it does take a minute or two for them to completely set after they've been heated, and then fussy cut the lot. And here I'm also going through other pieces and bits and pieces of my stash to find other things to create the big embellishment clusters on my cards. This little vellum frame is from, again, Marry Me Small Art set, and then I'm also bringing in things from the Minte frame book and the Minte junk book, I think this is where I'm pulling this tag out of. I tend to get all of my embellishments together. I don't know what is going on which card at this point. I'm just making sure I have roughly enough embellishments and things, and then I'll play around and figure out what's going on which card, what type of cluster, how many things are going on this one, etc, etc. I don't figure each one out individually. As I said, I get all the embellishments together and go from there, and then as I'm going I may figure out, oh, I could use an extra flower on that, and go and get that other thing, but I get the majority of my things ready. I'd also cut from the unexpected papers some of those tags I'm playing with, and that cute little journal thing that's on the slimline card at the top. That's both like the front cover and maybe the back cover of what's supposed to look like a little journal, and I thought it might make a cute little interactive element, but we'll talk more about that when it comes to it. So here I am figuring out how I'm going to have each piece and where they're all going to go. Oh, I also fussy cut these cute little postcards and envelopes and things. Again, those were from the Unexpected paper pad. I kind of go through and do bits at a time, so I won't fully assemble the whole card at once. I'll do the majority of it to get my basic structure, and then I'll go on to the next card and do that, and then I'll keep going back and going, okay, need to add more to this one, need to add more to this one, need to take something away from that one. For sticking down those vellum pieces, for the majority of them, I'm going to staple them down and then cover up the staple with some other embellishment. It's the best way for me of sticking down vellum, because a wet glue tends to make them warp a little bit and it will go, you know, weird and crunchy and wavy. It's just not very attractive. And any sort of double-sided tape, you can see it underneath the vellum and it's not very attractive. So either use staples, or if you're going to use a double-sided tape, do it in a place that's not going to be seen. So later on I'm going to do it in a place where I couldn't quite get away with adding staples. I had a really thin line of red line tape on the stem of the flower or the leaf, and then that bit will be hidden by another embellishment. So for the next few minutes, I'm basically doing the same thing over again on each card, just building up my basic structure of embellishments and little flowers and all sorts of bits. I kind of make a basic structure or base for the embellishments, such as on this one, I've got this set of 3 tags, which I'm going to staple together and then prop them up on some foam so they stick out a little bit. On another one, I'm using some frames. So yeah, I always have that big basic structure and then add my smaller embellishments, vellum flowers, fussy cut pieces, little fussy cut postcards, things like that. Those come after that. This card is a cute one. As I said, I wanted to make a little interactive element, so I used some washi to make a sort of tip-in thing. So it was a journal that opened, because this card was for a friend who is a fellow junk journaler, journaly person, so I thought it would be cute to have a little journal on her card at the front, so it opens and then it's going to say happy birthday inside that little journal, which I just, I thought it'd be a cute little thing that's slightly different, you don't usually get on a card. And then for this one, those two frames from, again, the Minte frame book. This is one of the cards, I can't remember, basically 3 of the cards I make in this video had an intended recipient, and then the other 2 I made because I was making cards, and then I have them in my stash ready to send to someone if it's something like, if you just want to send a card to someone that's not necessarily their birthday or an event, you just want to send a sweet little hello, thinking of you type thing. Or if, let's be honest, you have completely forgotten that it was someone's birthday and haven't got time to make a card, then you've got a few pre-made ones in your stash, because that happens to me more often than I would care to admit. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you do as well, like you make spare cards for both nice little cards to send people and also for emergency forgetful situations like that. I'd also love to know, like, if you don't make cards, do you ever apply anything like the mixed media techniques or anything that I show you in these videos? Do you apply them to other projects like art journaling or mixed media canvases or anything at all? I would really love to know. This card here, this was for one of my sisters, and just to make it a little bit special for her, I added that little cup, so because my sister is an absolute teapot. She's like well known in the family for loving her cups of tea. I mean, we're all British, so we love our tea, but not quite as much as this particular sister, so I had to add that little teapot. So it was that little something special for her, I always try to do that on cards that I've made specifically for people. It has that little special something that's for them, to say, I didn't just make this card randomly, I made this card for you. Again, with this card with a little journal on it, it was, it was for that person, as if a little special something for you. And again, with like the little vintagey book cards, that's not a thing. Books and postcards and envelopes and stuff. I will admit though, I am struggling a bit with card making at the moment. This may annoy some people, I don't know, and I'm not necessarily talking about the cards in this video, but I don't make cards for a thank you. I don't want to be like, adored, oh thank you for doing this for me, you're the best person in the world. But when I put the effort in to make a card for someone, just a little thank you would be nice sometimes. I think a lot of people have kind of got used to the fact that I make cards, and it's just like I so rarely get a thank you. I don't know, I probably shouldn't be talking about it. It's just like it's starting to upset me a little bit, and it's like I usually thank someone even if it's a 29p card from Card Factory. I'll be like, thanks for the present, oh, and for the lovely card. But I can't go and buy cards, because if I buy someone a card, they're like, oh, why didn't you make me a card? Have I done something to offend you? And it's like, yes, you didn't thank me for the cards I made you for the past 5 years, so I bought one this year. Anyway, just a little side rant for you there. As I said, it's not that I do it for the thanks, but it would be nice to have it sometimes. There are people in my family, of course, and friends and stuff who always thank me, so if you're watching this, you're probably one of those people, and I'm not talking about you, but there are other people, and it grates on me a little bit. But let's talk about something positive. End of rant. So off camera, I had put my little bases onto some card blanks, and I'd also stamped and embossed some sentiments. So I had 3 happy birthday sentiments for the 3 cards where I knew they were going, and then 2 simple just for you sentiments, because just for you is great, isn't it? Because it applies to pretty much anything, and you can do it for a non-event as well. So I threw a just for you on those cards because, as I said, it'll fit pretty much any occasion or circumstance. I went round most of them with some gold ink. This is the Galaxy Gold Brilliance ink. Some of the sentiments I backed on something else, like on that one I backed it on a little piece of craft because I thought that would stand out quite nicely against the blue background. This one I cut a little banner shape into it because I thought it would work quite nicely with the tags, and yeah, just did something a little bit different on each one of the sentiments. Here I am, of course, adding splatters. This is the Winsor & Newton white drawing ink, which is my favourite thing to add white splatters with. And then I think I'm going to go in with gold as well. It's the same thing, the Winsor & Newton drawing ink in the gold. And then after I've done the gold splatters, I will go in with, for my regular viewers, this will be such a shock. I will go in with my Nuvo drops. I'm going to use, where's my list? I'm using Dream Drops in the colour Fairy Wings, which is a pinkishy lilac-y sort of iridescent-y colour. Then Vintage Drops, which is a matte in Dusty Rose, and Vintage Drops in Chalk White. And I'm adding, I think I add all 3 colours to each card, maybe 1 or 2 of the cards I just add 2 of the colours, I don't know, I just went through each card at once. But once the Nuvo drops are on, that is going to be it for every one of those cards. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, even if you're not a card maker, please leave me a thumbs up if you did. Chat to me down in the comments. Let me know about your own projects and stuff. If you are a card maker, if you're not a card maker, but still use these techniques and stuff, as I said, would love to know. And as I always say, relevant links to products used and things would be down in the description box. I know I always say that and it's probably annoying, but a lot of the links I put down are affiliate links, which means if you do purchase from them, I get a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the sale at absolutely no extra cost to you, but I'd appreciate if you use them because it just really, really helps me out, helps me keep creating content and things like that. Anyways, very much time for me to shut up and go, and yeah, thank you again for watching. Bye bye.